All right. So welcome to our virtual roundtable called Childcare Talks Back. We're so excited to have you here. I think if you haven't chosen your language channel, you can find it at the bottom. Click the globe and make sure to say mute original audio. If you would like registry credit, make sure you put your first and last name into the chat with your registry number. And also if you're a family provider or if you're a center provider. Okay, so my name is Kate McCrimmon. My pronouns are she and her. As a visual description, I am a white woman with short gray hair and glasses. I'm wearing a light green blouse and I have bookcases in my background and some flowers on the side because it's May Day. I was a family childcare provider for 8 years, and I'm now a PhD candidate in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction at UW-Madison. I'm trying to speak a little slower for our interpreters because I tend to speed up. So I'll give them a second. So thank you so much to our UW-Madison sponsors, the Center for Research on Early Childhood Education, Community and Nonprofit Studies, and Preschool to 5. Thank you to Erin Fay at the Center for the Humanities and to Dahi Wolf with Kids Forward for co-presenting this event, and of course for my fellowship opportunity. Thank you to our interpreters, Barbara and Chucho Alvarado, our technology support person, Martine Alvarado, and Angel Garcia, Kids Forward intern and project support team member. Many thanks to our two distinguished guests, Professor Janean Dilworth-Bart and State Senator LaTonya Johnson. Finally, a huge thank you to all of the providers who made time to be on our panel today. Silka O'Donnell, Corrine Hendrickson, Fernanda Leparace, Denise Merkin, and Abby Abersham. Thank you so much. I'd like to begin by offering a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge the Ho-Chunk Nation and the other 11 First Nations residing in the boundaries of present-day Wisconsin. We recognize and respect the inherent sovereignty of these 12 First Nations. The history and presence of colonization informs our work and vision for a collaborative future. So next up is Dahi, who's going to talk about the significance of May 1st, which is a very special day for providers, followed by Professor Janean Dilworth-Bart and then State Senator LaTonya Johnson. We are thrilled to have all of you here. So Dahi, take it away.
Thank you very much, Kate. My name is Dahi Wolf. I'm at Kids Forward.
And Dahi, can you speak just a little louder? It's a little low for me.
Sure.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Dahi Wolf. I'm at Kids Forward here in Madison, Wisconsin. And I'm just going to speak for a couple of minutes about May Day, going way back into history and bringing it up to the present time. So I'm going to actually talk about 4 different aspects of May Day. And I will also provide a little bit of musical accompaniment to 2 of those. So the very first one is that May Day, also called Beltane, is an ancient pagan Celtic holiday that's been celebrated for thousands of years in the British Isles and elsewhere. It represents in many cultures the beginning of summer. And in the calendar, it actually falls exactly halfway between what we know as the first day of spring, the autumnal equinox, and the summer solstice, which is June 21st. It's very similar to Halloween or to Groundhog's Day. So it's that place that's in the middle of these other things, the equinox and the solstice in terms of the seasons. So it's a holiday that was a celebration of fertility and kind of the joy of spring and the flowers and nature coming back to life. It was chosen in 1886 in Chicago to be the center of the fight for the 8-hour day. So it became very symbolic of the labor movement. Now, I forgot to play something. On Beltane in Ireland, you would be dancing around a maypole. And in fact, I'm actually going to be going to play for a maypole celebration with a bunch of kids and families a little later this morning. So. It would be something like that. So back to 1886 in Chicago was the Haymarket affair. And it was the beginning of the fight for the 8-hour day to respect labor. The idea was everyone in a 24-hour day, you should have 8 hours of work, 8 hours of pleasure or on your own time, and 8 hours of rest. And that should be the standard. Obviously, for family childcare providers, I don't think that that's how it works, but it's aspirational, let us say. So May 1st became associated with workers' rights and then actually spread throughout the world, South America, Europe, Asia, all over. And it's funny because we don't actually celebrate May Day very much in the United States around labor. We have our own Labor Day that comes in September. But around the world, May Day is International Workers' Day. It's a holiday in many places. There are marches, there are celebrations. And in fact, I'm going to play one more little bit of a song here. So let's see here. This is kind of the anthem of the international workers. So, arise, ye victims of oppression. You have nothing to gain your rights. So that's called the International. So that's all the music. So now to bring it up to closer to the present, I believe that 1992, so almost 30 years ago, was the first time that Worthy Wage Day was celebrated on May 1st. And I know if Peggy Hack is on the call, she could tell us lots more about it because I know she was there. So for about 30 years, May 1st has been associated with childcare and the need to improve wages, so Worthy Wage Day. And many years up at the Capitol on May 1st, providers and supporters have come with kids and families and balloons and signs and celebrated that day. So I want to give a shout out to all the folks that have done that. My kids went to family childcare with Oma Vic McMurray, and I know she was always very active in that. And then lastly, the fourth thing that I'm going to mention is that starting in 2006, May 1st became associated with immigrants and the rights of immigrant workers, refugees, et cetera. And so that was the first time there was the Day Without Immigrants. And in Chicago, over 500,000 people marched, and they were supported not just Latina and Latino marchers, but folks from all different cultures, Polish and Irish and I don't know. Chicago is a very multi-ethnic place, so lots of people came out and said immigrants are important and their work is valued, and that continues to this day because there's marches and events going on to celebrate immigrants right now. So a little bit of the history of May Day, and it just happened that it's on a Saturday this year, and Kate and I thought, what a great day to celebrate family childcare and the work that they do.
Thank you so much, Dahi. That's wonderful. Would we like to, Professor Janean Dilworth-Bart, are you ready to
I
hear
am.
the words? Okay,
I
thanks.
am. Thank you, Kate. And as a very quick aside, I will say that for a brief while, I played bluegrass fiddle because I think I heard Dahi on Simply Folk, and I said that would be cool. And so I played for a little while. So
We're
thank you for
still
having
gonna
me.
get together and jam sometime, I promise you.
But I'm so terrible. But thanks for having me with you this morning. And it's really a pleasure. Thank you, Kate, for inviting me and letting the School of Human Ecology and the Prenatal to 5 initiative be involved. Prenatal to 5 began in 2017 with the goal of identifying how the School of Human Ecology and the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and hopefully the whole University of Wisconsin system, can contribute to the promoting the well-being of young children and their families. At our first event in the summer of 2017, we brought together multiple people from across the state, from across multiple sectors. We had legislators there represented, child care providers, university professors, pediatricians, business owners, all there for the purpose of talking about how can we join together and identify the low-hanging fruit that we all want to grab on to promote the well-being of children and families. We followed up with 5 regional meetings in 2019. Our final report is now available, and if you don't have that, Kate, I can pass that along so the participants can have it. It's a 2-pager. And then COVID happened, and now you are joining me in my kitchen. If you see behind me, my baking stuff. But it threw a monkey wrench into all of our plans, my plans, your plans, but it also taught us some lessons. So I'm thrilled that I'm able to be here today, to be a part of the conversation. And I've thought a lot about this, and I feel very strongly that as we have this conversation about the world opening up, our challenge is to remember those that we lost and the lessons that we've learned. And so one very important lesson is the absolutely critical role that child care professionals play in the lives of children and families, but also just in the functioning of our communities. So our challenge, in my view, is not to go back to the way things were, because a lot of the things that were not good. But we have an opportunity now to learn from our collective experiences and to better serve our families and communities. On that note, I'll stop speaking. I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say. And again, thank you for allowing me to join you.
Oh, thank you so much, Janean. We would love to have that 2-page report if you want to share it, and we can share it out when we send out the recording and with the other resources that we can put into the chat too. So wonderful to have you. And next up is State Senator LaTonya Johnson, if she's ready to share. Senator, are you ready? I think we see her. Okay, Martine, you can spotlight her. Thank you, Senator, for being here. And I can't hear you. If you haven't chosen your language channel, you have to find the globe at the bottom of your screen and click on the globe, choose English, and then choose mute original audio, and then that should work. It's not yet.
Hey, Kate, I can hear her. I don't know if other folks can. I don't know why you can't, but I think everybody else. No.
I
Yeah,
cannot hear it. I cannot hear it either.
Okay.
I think, did you click mute original audio under the globe? Nope, can't hear you yet. We'll figure it out. If we didn't have tech issues every single time we had something, it wouldn't be a webinar.
Martine, is there anything you can do to help us?
And did you find the globe on your screen? Oh, that's probably the issue. It's usually on the bottom of your screen. And
LaTonya, if LaTonya.
Let's see. Someone says when you click on the video, click more, or try dragging your.
Click the three dots.
Got it.
Yeah.
Huh. No, still can't hear. Try dragging your cursor to the bottom and it might appear. Oh, are you on a phone, Senator? No, okay. Okay. Give it another minute.
So
here.
it's the last icon after live transcript. If you click on that one.
No, it's still not. We don't have it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we can't hear you. Sometimes
figure
like
it
as
out.
a last resort, sometimes we'll have people leave and then come back in. Do you want to give that a try? Okay. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Senator. Sorry. I think she's on a computer, but we'll give her a minute. And maybe as we're waiting, Dahi, do you have any thoughts? Do you think we should go ahead and start with our first question, or maybe give it another couple of minutes?
I think let's just give it another minute, and if we successfully get Senator Johnson back, then we'll proceed with her, and if not, we'll go to the first question.
Yeah, that sounds good. Sounds good.
Oh, music or interlude. Oh gosh, Janine is so smart. Yeah.
All right, super. Thank you. Boy,
Sure.
we didn't expect that.
Yeah.
What a great way to bring in May Day. So Senator, you're ready to give it a try. Should we see?
I can hear you. Kate, can you hear her?
I can't for some reason.
cannot
Maybe it's
hear.
me. Can everyone else hear her?
I cannot hear.
Okay, so Abby can't hear. Senator, have you?
I can't hear either.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
So maybe you should mention to hover your
Wait.
arrow at the bottom of the screen, and then you'll be able to see the little world icon.
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay.
Woo! Hallelujah.
Nice work, Senator Johnson. Thank you.
So
Go
it
ahead.
wasn't on my iPad, it wasn't a globe. It was like something at the top, and yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
You got it.
Oh yeah, no worries.
If my 23-year-old would have been here, it would have been a lot easier. So good morning, and thank you for having me. I'm really, really honored to be here. I was a child care provider for 10 years and president of my local, along with Silka. We were all heavily involved in the union here in Wisconsin, and helped to start the first child care union. I'm so happy to be able to talk about a happier subject than I normally get to talk about and interact with on a daily basis at the state capitol. I just want to say that we all know the importance of early childhood education, but we all know the importance of daycare, especially now, of childcare and early childhood education. And the state realizes the importance of early childhood education and the role that our childcare providers play, because we all know that if this state is to bounce back, we need quality childhood education options. And that has been one of the biggest challenges for this state. 54% of Wisconsin residents live in what's known as a child care desert. And that's defined under the census tract with more than 50 children under the age of 5 that contains either no childcare provider or so few options that there are more than 3 times as many children as licensed childcare slots. And, you know, to deal with some of those childcare deserts, we've seen individuals pop up unlicensed and unregulated centers for whatever reason. But the state is now starting to figure out that sometimes those options, unregulated options, are not because people don't necessarily want to deal with the paperwork, but because there's something on their background that would prevent them from being a licensed or regulated center, which is another concern for the state, because not only do we want children in quality settings, we want them in safe settings, because that's equally as important. A lack of equitable childcare access and quality early childhood options across the state is having a fundamental negative impact on Wisconsin families, on the workforce, and on the economy as a whole. Clearly, even before the pandemic, the childcare industry was under stress, and we were struggling in terms of quality early childhood education. The child care rates paid under the shared program have fallen significantly behind market rates, and that played a huge role in those not being able to access quality centers, because who wants to work in what's a very difficult field when you can get paid more working in fast food restaurants or something that's far less challenging. And unfortunately, that's affected our ability to retain quality childcare providers in the system. Between March 1st and May 1st of 2020, Wisconsin saw 54% of its large licensed group centers close, compared to only 18% of licensed family providers. In the past year, knowing that the state's economy and economic recovery is dependent on the existence of quality childcare centers, the governor invested $131.5 million of new federal funds in the childcare industry in an effort to save quality early childhood education, but also to stave off some of the worst effects of COVID-19's pandemic on one of the largest investments in our country, and providing those funds for early childhood education. In addition, the governor recently announced an additional temporary rate increase of $10.2 million in the fiscal year 2020 and 2021. That will provide a 21% rate increase for families with children 0 to 3, making childcare more affordable for families while providing additional support for childcare centers at a time when it's greatly needed, until there is a wider distribution of vaccines and the budget passes. The state was also awarded $148.8 million in federal child care and development block grant funds. And this money was provided to provide additional responses to the ongoing effects of the pandemic, and what those effects have had on the child care industry in this state. The budget proposal under Governor Evers' budget directs $140 million over the biennium toward a program to continue to address quality, affordability, access, and equity for children within the child care industry.
Senator Johnson, I just need to stop you for 1 sec. We're doing a simultaneous translation. So if you could just speak a little bit slower, you're doing great, but just please slow down a little bit for the translators. Thank you.
Sure, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
So Governor Evers' budget directs $140 million over the biennium toward a program to continue to address quality, affordability, access, and equity for children within the child care industry. And one program that I was truly happy to help initiate was to expand child care in 53206. I represent parts of 53206 in Milwaukee, which is one of the hardest hit zip codes economically in the entire state. The median resale value of a home in 53206 is just $4,300. And 70% of that zip code's population consists of convicted felons, either currently on paper or previously on paper for felony convictions. The one thing that that zip code lacked and needed more than anything was at least one 5-star daycare center. I went to the governor, we had a conversation, and it was so easy to have a conversation with him about the quality and the need for quality childcare because he was the state superintendent. After our conversation, probably about 3 to 4 weeks later, he came to me and said, I've put $1.6 million in the budget for 53206. It's your job to keep it there. I went to my Republican colleagues and said that this was my one ask, that those children deserved quality childcare in that zip code. My Republican colleagues basically took out everything, almost that the governor had in his budget, except for one thing, and that was the $1.6 million in the budget for 53206. I'm happy to say that this budget, the governor is expanding on that. So he's expanding the 53206 Early Child Care and Education Initiative, which was a pilot program that supports child care facilities in Milwaukee, to neighboring zip codes in his budget. It worked so well in 53206 that they wanted to find a way to provide extra incentives to help improve quality childcare throughout the state. The other thing that his budget does, it allows direct care workers to disregard 10% of their income for Wisconsin Shares eligibility, which is huge. We want to make sure that childcare becomes affordable without having to take away the pay from our providers. It also allows the education of child support payments from income eligibility for Wisconsin Shares. The other thing that it does is delinks Young Star ratings and subsidy rates, replaces it with the Child Care Strong grant program. Quality care for quality kids would then pay monthly payments and monthly per child payments to providers that are certified, licensed, or established by a school board. Child Care Strong increases quality and affordability. It would annually provide $53 million in GPR and repurposing $17 million in TANF funds by delinking Young Star Initiative payments to providers for shares authorizations. And for me, this is huge and this is personal. And I know Silco feels the same way, because when Young Star was first created, in other states, it wasn't a punitive program. Other states, they provided additional funding to help childcare providers reach the Young Star quality ratings. But in Wisconsin, when it was implemented as a way to punish providers for providing lower quality care, rather than helping to provide additional funding to help all providers reach a level of quality. The governor's budget also provides $3.3 million in social emotional learning initiatives to provide training and technical assistance for child development issues. And I'll stop right there because this list goes on and on. I do want to say that on Friday, we got new papers for the budget. The way that it works is that the governor creates his budget with the things that he wants to see implemented for the state. But it's up to the joint finance as to what we are willing to keep or take out of the budget. And so there was conversations that Republicans were going to start from base and not necessarily accept many of the things that Governor Evers has in his budget. Well, on Friday afternoon at about 2:30, we received the budget from our Republican colleagues, and it pretty much takes out a lot of the governor's budget items. So this weekend, with a very large glass of watermelon soda, I will be reading that budget to see what's in there for childcare providers. I will say that I did have a conversation with my Republican colleagues, and they talked about how happy they were that Young Star was going to be replaced, because apparently they never liked that program either. Figures, they could have done something about it a long time ago, but anyways. But they were saying, and they had a conversation with me and asked the question, and their question was, would it be better for the rates to just mimic marketplace overall and get rid of a rating system altogether? And my answer was, that's the most important thing, to make sure that the rates reflect market rates, because that's how providers get their money to improve the quality in their centers, but also find a way, to help providers obtain that quality without providing punitive measures, because you want to make sure that the quality of care is improving, just like the rates are. So I'm really interested to see what the parts for childcare looks like, and I'll be reading that a little bit later today. But I was super excited to hear them say that they wanted to try and get the rates up to market rate. That's huge.
Thank you so much, Senator. That's a lot of information to digest, and we're excited to hear what comes next. So I think we can move on to our questions. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We have a marvelous panel of providers here for our virtual roundtable, who reflect the rich diversity of family childcare across varied cultures, languages, races, ethnicities, and more. We have shared a link to the fact sheet, or soon will, in the chat, which further shows that family childcare is the most diverse segment of the early childhood workforce. It would be great if we could start just with a really brief go around with our panel. If everyone wouldn't mind just saying your name, you're welcome to share the name of your program, how many years you've done childcare, whatever else you'd like to share. Denise, would you want to start us off?
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's been so inspirational to hear everybody thus far, and I look forward to sharing with you as well. I am an early childhood educator and have been in the field for over 39 years. I had my own family childcare for 36 years and love the profession. So happy to hear that people are moving forward and people are starting to understand what it entails to have a quality program. And is there anything specific you wanted me to say, Kate?
No, just brief introductions before we get into the questions that we have, just so people know who you are. So that's perfect.
Okay,
Thank you, Denise. Do you want to tag somebody next?
Sure. I see Silka next to me on my screen.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Silka O'Donnell, and I'm a family child care provider from Madison, Wisconsin. I've been doing family child care for over 27 years, and I've been in the field of caring for children since I was about 15 years old. Started as a nanny in Germany, actually. Look forward to getting to know more about everyone here and listening and just thinking about all the things that affect our field. Thank you and welcome.
Super. Thanks, Silka. Do you want to tag somebody next? You were muted. Who did she say? Abby, I think. Abby, do you want to go?
Good morning, everybody. Happy May Day, happy Worthy Wages Day, and happy International Workers Day. What a beautiful day to be here. I am privileged to be here with you and honored to talk about family child care. My name is Abby Abrisham, and I've been in the field of early childhood over 3 decades, and have other education experience prior to that too. So here we go. 2 grandchildren I have, and I'm helping with their homeschooling as well. I am a teacher for children, registry master trainer for teachers, trainer for teachers, and a consultant for parents. So very happy to be here, and I give it to Fernanda.
Good morning, everyone. For this one, I would like to speak in Spanish. If that's okay, I will switch channel.
Fernanda is going to speak in Spanish for this part. ¿Me escuchan? Do you listen? Can you hear me? My name is Fernando Lepaurase. I was born in Argentina. I am a family health childcare provider from 2007. I live in Madison, as you see. I'm in my home. It's right here. It's full of things for children. And this is where I spend most of my day. I don't know anything else I'm supposed to say. I think that's all. Thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you, Fernanda. So Corrine, would you like to go next?
Sure. I am Corrine Hendrickson. I have been a family child care provider in New Glarus since 2007 as well. So 14 years. I have a 14-year-old son and a 12-year-old son. So I started when my oldest was 10 months old and had 3 pregnant friends who could not find childcare. So I said, if I quit my job, would you come to me? And they said yes. So I basically had.
Corrine, can you slow down just a little?
Yep.
Sorry.
I am also a consultant trainer and currently am mentoring some other providers here in Greene County through a professional development block grant that we just received. So thanks.
All right, thank you so much for those introductions. So to go ahead and get started, there are a lot of people from different sectors attending today. There's parents, policymakers, childcare providers, academics, and other people. All of you operate and own a small business, which is a lot. Can you talk about the different kind of roles that you play? In other words, can you describe the family childcare work, the tasks that you do every day, maybe a typical day? So that's our first question. And Abby, would you like to start us out with that?
Sure, I'd be delighted to. Well, it is not possible to tell you what the day looks like, but for those who are in family in daycare centers, as teachers and administrator, as cook, as janitor, as program director, as teacher assistant, we are all of that in family daycare. All of those roles. We wear many hats throughout the day. And if I want to describe a day of family daycare, I have to describe the night before. It starts the evening. After the day, you clean up. You have to keep up with your emails, business emails. If you're an advocate, you have 3 times as much work to do that. If you're a part of support group, you have another dedication there. So you have to be passionate, you have to be dedicated, you have to be flexible, you have to have a lot of sense of humor to do this business. You have to be strong businesswoman, you have to have a very good sense of business, and you have to know how to budget, how to juggle. So you do all these things, but the night before it starts with that is shopping. Either you're going training or workshops, or you are doing trainings, you're preparing for that. You have to keep up with the newsletters, with different organizations. You are licensed, you're accredited nationally, locally, state, city, all those standards, you have to be in compliance with them. So you look at these, and then on top of it, the most important thing is that in the morning, you have to open your heart. You open the door, you open your heart, because it's your home. And depending, it's so unique, it's so diverse, as Kate said, that you never know how it is each family daycare unless you enter one. And that's how you be amazed. And then the morning, depending how early you open, there are providers open at 6 to 6. There are providers open at 8, at myself, 8 to 5. So I have to start at 6 for 8, because I have to make sure my arrival area, if it's shared with my home, it's changing. I have to make changes in the environment, physical environment for arrival, and then get myself prepared for that. And if, like you share, like your home area, you don't have separate area for daycare in your home, you have to convert it for daycare, put things that is not safe for children away, and then you make yourself ready for arrival. For arrival, you're another person. Now you're a social, you're a communicator, you a relation builder with parents. Now you open your door, you welcome, and then you're problem solvers, because at the same time, another parent comes, 2 children, 3 children. So you have to have planning, you have to have areas. It's not like a center that you have another staff, take them and you just greet them, or you don't even see the parents. So it's very intimate. It's relationship with parents you build, and you're together. So they come, and at the same time, child has needs. So you have there, your roles is teacher, and you're adult for adult communication, and you are a teacher for children, and you have to be role model, how you juggle, how you're flexible, how you interact with parents, how you model as early childhood professional for parents, your interaction. That's the time parents can really see you, how you do it. So then you settle children, then you welcome, and how it is, they come in and you invite them to sit down, and then the same story happens throughout the rest of the day. But then the best part of it for me, individual, is being a teacher with children. I discover with them, I explore with them, I play with them, I'm active with them, and that's the whole story that goes ahead. And then I need, during that time, my full attention is with children. So I forget about the whole advocacy, regulatory agencies, everything. I'm just with children, focusing on the learning, on standards, on where they are, when I have to meet them, how to plan for them, what type of skills they are learning. Am I focusing on enhancing sensory needs, or am I focusing on their early language and literacy, how I'm teaching them self-help, how I'm teaching them self-regulation, problem solving, and this list goes on and on. But I give it to my other panelists here. I don't know if I used my time or not. I don't have timer, but I give it to my other panelists.
That's perfect, Abby. Thank you so much. Yeah. Would anyone else like to chime in about what your typical day is, what this work is? Denise, go ahead. Or Silka, either one.
Go ahead, Denise.
Okay, thank you, Silka. I just want to say, Abby, I agree with everything that you've said. I don't know how you put it all into such a small time period, but you did a beautiful job. I also want to say the many hats we wear is the love and passion that we have for the children, and also assessing how the children are feeling that day. I mean, sometimes we do the diagnosing of illnesses, and parents will come to us to ask us to do that, and it is unbelievable how much we have to go through during the day. We not only open our hearts and our homes to the children, but as Abby said, the families as well. They look to us for so much guidance and help. They often come in and they need a lot of information and help and support. And we can't turn them away. We have to create boundaries too, but in a very loving way. Children are watching us and parents are watching us all the time. And so we always have an effect on what we do. We're very much out there. I also want to say my program was an inclusive program. And, if a child came to me and it was discovered that they were deaf and could not hear, or had allergy problems, we dealt with that too. We served them food. My program was organic and vegetarian. It goes on and on, but I'll hand it over to Silka now.
Yeah, both of you really covered a lot of what we do. And the only thing I can think about is I think a lot of people through the pandemic got a little bit of a taste of what we do as far as balancing work and family. When you're working from home, our families are there. We have to make sure, that our kids have what they need to go off to school. Or if the doorbell rings, we're still doing our job and doing all of these other things. But we need to know that our programs always come first. So sometimes our families do come second. And I think, through the pandemic, everybody working at home, maybe you got a little bit of taste of what that's like to have all these other distractions throughout the day and still remain focused on your job.
Thank you, Denise and Silka. Corinne or Fernanda, would you like to? Okay. Fernanda, did you want to share anything?
I second what Abby, Silke, and Denise say. They put it very well out there, and I appreciate your passion. And I'm glad to be one of us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's clear from everything all of you have said that this is an enormous, complex job, and it's a profession. It's not just a job. It is clearly a profession that has immense complexities to it, and all of you are managing multiple hats all throughout the day, and oftentimes, like you said, starting at 6 o'clock, ending at 5 or 6 o'clock. So it's a long day, 10 hours or more. Sometimes you're juggling your own family, and there's just many things that you do that people don't realize. In the interest of time, because we have a couple more questions, I'd love to get to the next question, which is, the pandemic has hit providers really hard and has also shown that they too are essential workers taking care of our children. Can you describe your experience of going through or trying to make it through the pandemic? You might consider how things have changed during COVID, or how it has exacerbated problems that have always been there. Maybe you took on new things, or things got harder. Also, I welcome you to share what you did that you're really proud of and how you feel appreciated or not for all of your hard work. And Corinne, since you didn't have a chance, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So the pandemic definitely was mind-boggling and stressful. We were included in with schools for all communication until March 16th. And then on that day, we were on our own. We were no longer included with schools. However, we didn't know this until Sunday evening, when some of us received an email from DCF saying we were expected to stay open. I say some because they didn't have all of our emails. So then we told other people, I guess we're open. And parents, it was difficult because parents didn't know, we didn't know what we were supposed to do. So immediately it shone the light that the communication needed to change. Several of us took it upon ourselves then to communicate that, frustration with those in power. Some complained and didn't feel comfortable speaking up because they were afraid of retaliation, because that is something too, like you're afraid to speak up because then are they going to come in and shut my business down? And therefore it affects everything else. So I found that this administration was very welcoming to that feedback and very appalled that that's what we got out of it, and immediately started trying to work to rectify that. There are still some relationship repairing that needs to be done. And again, it's based off of history, not just this administration, previous administrations and things like that. Rollout of Youngstar is an example of that. So as far as that goes, immediately several of us found our voices. We found other people to talk to. We found other people to work with, and we worked together really hard with each other in our small networks, formal networks, informal networks. Wisconsin Early Childhood Association immediately started working, to try and figure out contracts, because how do we get paid if we're closed? This is something brand new, but if we don't get paid anything, how do we start back up? What is it that we need to do next? So I feel like those were some of the better things, because we did realize that we are important. Parents realized we are important. Other business owners realized we are important. And that just kind of became a stepping stone for a much greater, I say, collection of all of us working together, not just in our little silos anymore, which is also very important, because as everybody said, we are everything to these families. And we also are that first line, and we need to be able to work with Department of Children and Families, Department of Public Instruction, Department of Health and Human Services, the USDA for the food program. Like, people don't realize how many different people we actually interact with, in a typical, I would say, day or week even sometimes. So I feel like those are some of the great things that have come out of this, and also just laid bare what it is we need. And all of us are willing to put that work in, but we need help, and we need everybody who is on this call to also, be helping figure out ways to talk to people. If you're not comfortable speaking up, writing is great. Find somebody who can read, what you're writing and give you some feedback, and, tweak it and make it sound great. And don't be afraid to tell people, this is good, but I think you need to add more here, because you're afraid of insulting that person. No, they asked you for help. They want you to help them. So remembering, those types of things. And as far as with my children and, in my program, it's been hard. I haven't luckily had to close it all, but it's always there. People are getting vaccinated, which is fantastic, but our children are not. So adults are getting together and the children are getting together and not continuing to hold that space. So now you're seeing that it's the younger children that are now getting COVID. And with all of those things, we have to, stay, vigorous, I guess, with everything, and, hold the line until those vaccines come out for those youngest kids. So really working on those things. And just this whole time, I've also really been looking more at my program, how to meet those kids' needs, their behavioral and mental health needs. I've been working with my county to try and get some of that support so that I can ask questions and get these kids, the support that they need and deserve. We've gone mostly outside. So that has been fantastic for their behavior. And I've never had kids behave better in my entire career. And I honestly think it's because we're outside in nature, and they're, I'm always been very play-based, but I'm really besides the virtual learning that I have to get done with the kids, because I do support virtual learning. I have a child here with special needs who gets her therapy via computer as well. Besides that, it's whatever the kids need and want. I'll get supplies out there, or materials out there for them, and do all those types of things. So I would say it's been an experience. It's been stress. I would never want to do it again, but I would want all the good things that are coming out of it to have somehow of it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Corinne. Go ahead, Silka. Did you want to add, or Denise?
Yeah, I did. And a lot of what Corinne said really was going through my mind. I was nodding my head a lot. For me, probably the most shocking is our home is our sanctuary for our own family. And when that pandemic hit, I felt that my family was no longer safe in our own home. And that was really, really scary to me, because most people then closed their bubbles, stayed home. But for me, that didn't work. So we're fortunate enough, we have a second vacation home. I had my husband and my daughter move 100 miles away to our vacation home immediately, so that I knew they were safe, because that was really a big burden on me. And just constantly thinking about all the children and the families that we care for. Are we doing the right thing are we keeping them safe? Are these children going to get sick? What's going to happen if they get sick? That burden, I think the mental weight of that was it wasn't the cleaning, it wasn't the paperwork. Yeah, we had to come up with where are we going to get PPE, here are all these policies we have to rewrite. We have to new licensing rules we have to keep following. Even during this pandemic, we have to, be creative and flexible. I always run my program outside, so that part was easy for me. But my teacher and I split up and we became nannies for 2 of our essential worker families. And am I keeping my teachers safe? That part for me was the hardest. And that was probably the most deciding factor to actually drive me to close my business now, because it was such a stressful year. I am closing at the end of May. And it saddens me because I had a couple more years to go, but that part made it the toughest, I think, for me, is just the responsibility I feel towards the children I care for.
Thank you. Thank you, Silka. Denise, did you want to add?
Yeah, can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So I did want to add, my last day was also March 13th, and who would have known that that would have been my last day in my program? I continue to teach virtually via Zoom to all 10 of my children. And it was unbelievable. I mean, never did I ever think that my early childhood career would land up being kind of like on television, because that's what it felt like. But I've started to feel like an entertainer, but it was so important to the children and families for me to continue to have contact because I couldn't see them. I also had to think of my family because of underlying health conditions. I could not continue my program. And I then decided to close at the end of the year, even though my last day with the children was March 13th, which is so hard to imagine, last year of 2020. I never thought that that would happen. It was a huge decision and very difficult. Landed up selling my home and donating all of my equipment from the last 39 years. but I'm still in contact with the families, and you know, the connection is unbelievable. And then I agree with everything that Silke and Curran has said too. I mean, it's the work that has had to be done is enormous.
Mhm.
Abby, did you want to add?
Yes, I wanted, yes, all of these that everybody said. Like Denise, I had to close my doors for my age category. So closed my doors to physical entrance of children, but I never closed my heart. And I stayed open to the community. I started giving even more to my community. I've been always advocate, like what Dahi was talking about Worthy Wages Day. I was there with my kids making banners, visiting the senator's office, Worthy Wages Day gathering. And yes, I'm thankful that Oma was mentioned. We had very good leaders in this community and have it. And I saw things in my community and nationally, the connection we got closer to during this pandemic. I've been participating in a lot of virtual webinars through national, local, state. We received a lot of support from ECE organization, VICA, VSEN, Satellite, DCF, NACI, NAFIC. They stayed very up to date. They shared information. They sent so many emails, so many supportive webinars, free webinars, trainings. So I did stay connected, and I did many virtual training nationally and locally. I formed a supportive support group for providers to include all satellite providers with my friends of Sojourn providers who are a supportive group of satellite family childcare. And we reached out, we helped each other virtually. We missed all those hugs. And unlike Corinne and Fernando and Silka, who had the connection with kids, we missed those connection as physically connection. So that was missing. That was hard, but I stayed connected with my community. We had people like Stuart Stotts that he played music and connected us through music, and also Dahi's music. It kept me going, and my battery is dying. I'm sorry. I have to.
Oh, that's okay. We have one more question, and I'm conscious of time, but I also Fernanda, would you like to say anything about the last question?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to add that to all what my colleagues say, that I didn't close my business. We had great communication with the families and took care of each other, and I love them for that. But I did hurt my back for all the extra bending for cleaning that I had to do. And at a point I thought, well, I should hire somebody because I won't be able to do this for longer. And when I did my numbers, like, I can't hire anyone that I could pay a decent wage. So I kept doing the work, didn't close. I'm doing therapy for my back now, and hoping there is a change somehow, so we can get those funds to hire people. I would like to hire another teacher and fill my house with all the children I can have in here, which I cannot have working on my own, if that makes sense. Hiring another teacher will open spots for families who are in need. And yeah, so we will be helping each other. But for that, we need funds to be able to pay a decent wage to other teachers and ourselves, because we pay for healthcare, we pay for so many things that other people get through their jobs. Like I have to pay for save money for retirement, for example. I do it with my income, and I just wanted to add.
Thank you so much, Fernanda, and everyone. Thank you for sharing some of the profoundly difficult things that many of you have had to endure this past year. Even though lots of benefits also happened, it sounds like so much more kind of collective work is being done with one another, and that's a real benefit and something to be really proud of, how everyone has done it in their own way. And it's clear that we need to recognize all of you from a societal point of view. I think we have time for our last question, if we can squeeze it in, because we want to have questions at the end. So we'll try to we just need another webinar to share more, because obviously we all have so much to say, and I'm so excited that all of you are sharing from your hearts. And again, thank you so much. Those are hard things to share, and I just want to be very, very appreciative of those difficult things that you've shared today with us. So the last question is that it's clear providers are truly essential. Pandemic or not, providers are a public good. However, family child care providers are in crisis. These brilliant providers are not recognized as the professionals and experts as they are. To our audience, we made this a public event because this is a crisis that we all must address collectively, and it's our responsibility. So providers, I wanted to ask you about your typical workday. And then I wanted to ask you to consider your ideal workday. What can we as society and taxpayers provide for you to make you feel appreciated, like the essential workers you are, improving your quality of life and quality of work? In other words, what do you need and what do you want? And I know that's a big question and we only have a few minutes left, but I would love to hear your answers. So Silke, did you raise your hand? Did you want to go? Go ahead.
I actually have a very, very simple answer. I would like society as a whole to look at childcare or daycare or whatever we call it and think of it as the most important early childhood education their children could ever have. And in that, I think the workforce needs to be supported, that they earn a decent living wage, have retirement opportunities, and have health insurance opportunities like all other workers in this world.
Thank you, Silke. Go ahead, Denise.
Well put, Silke. I also want to say that early childhood is the foundation of the start for these children and our next generation. And there's so much brain research study that has been done about the early years and the formative years and how important that is. We know all of this now, and it's time for us to do things. Most of us are inclusive programs because we have a child from a young age and don't know what their needs will be until it starts to unfold. And having resources for parents, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language, those things cost a fortune. And when you have children with special needs, you need another adult with some early childhood experience to help you do your best for the child and the other children and the families. And some of us who were able to take an exact half cut in salary to hire those staff did it because that was our way of of contributing to society because it's such an important need. But on a state level and a federal level, that's something that needs to be included as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Denise. Abby, did you want to go?
Yes, I wanted to say this is what we want is not just for childcare workforce, we want it for families. It's together, is whatever we are doing for community, it has to include childcare and families. As this, I'm so excited about the Childcare and Working Family Act. I'm very excited and hopeful for our president's American Family Plan. It is wonderful. It is wonderful. Even if it gets a little bit cut by other party, we still get that. And I'm very hopeful. But I want to give you something. 60.7% of women were in the workforce in 2018. 62.7. And then during pandemic, 2.3 million women lost their job because of childcare, linked to childcare, most of it, part of it. And in compare with men who were only 1.8 million. And even before pandemic, it cost the revenue $700 billion for working families, lack of adequate childcare. That's how much was costing the country, the revenue, 700 billion inadequate childcare. And then so many left the childcare field. And here we are with this plan. This is what I want. I want that this plan that they have, first of all, I hope that federal and state, they bring a team of experts, not just the business owners, not just the corporate owners, not just the policy makers, not just the politicians, but also childcare experts throughout the country, through state, federal, all those administrators, all those teachers, young and students, teachers, family daycare center administrators, NACI, NAFIC, state organization, bring them all these stakeholders, and then not to look at ECE as an isolated challenge, as an isolated problem. It has to be comprehensive. It has to be jobs for families. It has to be with health insurance for families, housing for families, and all of this has to come in common. Unless we do this, we never get anywhere. And when they are doing this universal preschool, we have to look at the existing trend, what we have, and then bring different perspective from different groups, and look at the other models in other countries, in developed countries who were successful, and they are doing it. We just use that model in also in account, and then we try to craft a new progress. Then we craft it with all these input of these experts, bring them in, and then we put it, and then we also include all the existing programs, just not universal preschool comes and wipe out the others. So bring them all together, and I hope that happens. And with this various perspective and resources, bring it to adequate, address the adequate childcare availability, access, and quality childcare be available to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. We have a little bit of time at the end for questions, but I really want to hear from Corinne and Fernanda, if you would like to share a little bit about your vision.
I speak. Adding to all what my colleagues said again, because they're They're on the point. That's it. What I'm missing as a child, as a family childcare provider, is that somebody asking me, what do you need? How can I help you? I am missing respect. I'm missing hours for self-care. I'm missing hours for professional development. I'm going to stop. I'm working on my bachelor's degree, but I'm going to stop because I'm exhausted and I cannot keep going doing the work I'm doing with all the extra work. So an extra teacher will be so much appreciated. And this will also help me and the families and children I work with. And what else do I want to add? I think health insurance, retirement benefits, and yeah, I'll leave it like that. So much more, but I'll leave it.
Yes, exactly what everybody else had said, especially what Fernanda has said, because it is true. Like, we feel guilty if we take a day off because we know our families then have to take a day off. So respite care would be amazing. And even the funds to be able to pay someone. So what I'll just kind of say, respect is the number one thing that I want. Respect for what we do, respect for the professionalism, respect for our knowledge, respect for our expertise, respect for everything that it is we do, from the smallest tiny thing of putting a Band-Aid on a child who fell to the big, huge thing of ensuring that they're developmentally appropriate practices and environments, and that they're developing how they should be, could be, and then if they're not, knowing how to talk to those parents about that, knowing where to go, how to refer a child to Birth to 3, how to refer a child to the school district, and then having the respect from those places to come in and acknowledge and understand and use our facilities as the place for them to get their services. Because I can watch, the child I have right now is doing phenomenal because I sit with her for her therapy session. I know what they're doing. I then do that with her all the time. Her parents, I talk to her parents at pickup and I show them the same things. So she has just excelled beyond all of our wildest imaginations. And it's 15 minutes a day that she's getting. That's it. But it's because we're all working together as equals, as professionals who understand and want what's best for these kids and their families. And as others were saying, we put $1 in now, or we pay 16 later for higher incarceration rates, for higher health costs, because that brain development and the stress of anything happening in these little lives turns into other healthcare problems as they age. So really, we are number one in what's happening in the society. And if our families want to choose to stay home, that is amazing and awesome. But we need to then have these same types of programs that are available to home health visits so that their parents get that same sort of support. Because if we're isolated as family childcare, you stay home with your own child, you are really isolated because so few do it. So you need that support too, even if, so it needs to be comprehensive and looked at as from the child. What systems do we need to put into place? How can we do that? Make sure everybody is at the table and respected at that table, listened to at that table, and just go from there and create what it is we need, because it will cost our society so much less in the long run. Our society will be happier, the mental health and everything would tremendously go down, and those costs and things like that too. So we definitely, that's my dream. That's what I'm going for. That's what I'm pushing for. And in the form of that universal childcare. Preschool does not have to be in K-12 just because we think K-12 is free. No, childcare should also be free because it's education. They start learning as the minute, they come out of the womb, basically. They learn. If they cry, they get helped. They learn all of those things. And they learn by watching others. And when we put kids into K-12 systems, even some group centers, they're only with an age group and they move along with that age group. They never see kids older and younger. Our society, humans are social. We learn by watching and interacting with others. So those babies learn by watching those others. I have kids that are like 2 and 3, and if I have an infant who starts to crawl, parents are like, they're regressing, they're crawling. I'm like, no, they're teaching those little ones how to crawl. They're teaching them how to go up the steps and down the steps. And they're, you know, they learn patience, they learn all kinds of different things from each other. So really looking at how we're creating environments and making sure that they are, you know, play-based, which means the teacher stays out of the way and supports those kids in what they need. And, you know, it's like a play buzz kind of happy, kind of going on like a beehive type thing, but making sure that those things happen. But a number one thing is we have to get the respect. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much to all of you for sharing your vision with what you need and being so specific. It's so clear that we need to invest in all of you, invest in our early childhood systems. And like Abby said, look to other models. And of course, this is where I'm going to say Denmark has a model that's been going for over 50 years. It's there, and it includes family childcare as part of the public system. And so we need to look at systems that are working, and we need to invest early, because also, like Corinne said, it's that if we invest early, we save money later. And just quickly, a child with subsidies who's 4 years old might get $70 from the state. We look at what a prisoner costs the state, it's $750 a week. So 70 versus $750. We have to collectively reprioritize where we're putting our dollars. And if we put them in systems of care, we learn how to care about each other early. We take care of problems early, nip those things in the bud. And so important. So thank you so much for all of you. We could talk so much longer. There's so many important things that we all said. We only have 3 minutes left for questions.
There's a few things in the chat, if I could share in terms of comments and questions. Yeah, so first of all, I'll just read a comment. This is from Mamie Thomas. She is a mentor in the family childcare program. And she says, I am in strong agreement with all the comments, providers and educators. This is a great profession, working with children and families, one of the most rewarding professions. It's the most important part of a child's life, and all workers in this field should be respected in all ways, including benefits, physical, emotional, and financial. And then a couple people, both Peggy and Heidi, asked about health insurance and health care. So I know it's something Fernanda mentioned. So the question is, do you have adequate health care? Do you have health insurance? Do you buy health insurance, or how do you have access to health care? So I don't know if anybody wants to address that one. Fernanda, you talked about it a little bit, so.
Go ahead, Silke, and we'll see how many questions we can get to.
Since my husband was also self-employed, we have had to pay out of pocket in the last couple of years. It's been between $1,639 and $1,776 a month, with a lot of out-of-pocket and co-pays on top of that.
I would like to share that I've been a resident for many years, and while being a resident, I had to pay for insurance. I'm head of household too, so now that I am a citizen, I get insurance from the government. But before I had to pay it because I didn't meet the citizenship. Thank you for asking that. People don't know these things. A lot of people don't know these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was very expensive because I have to pay for me and my son.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate. My husband has great insurance because he's a full-time firefighter.
Thank you.
There's another comment in the chat from Judy. She says, thank you so much. You're champions and advocates for all of us. I'm working with an organization in Pittsburgh that is trying to better meet the needs and advocate for home-based providers. Your stories are essential. So thank you. And Kate, we are at 10:30, so just want to think about wrapping up. So.
Yeah. I hate to wrap up. I will stay on longer, and anyone else is welcome to stay along with us. And I guess out of to respect the time that we did have allotted, I guess I would just wrap things up and say a giant thank you to all of you from sharing from your hearts. It's just amazing to have all of you here today. And I hope that people take away the fact that we have to collectively do this as a society to make changes. Corrine made some suggestions of what you can do, but it takes all of us. It's everybody's problem to solve. So I hope if there's one takeaway, that's one of them. And just a giant thank you to everyone for being here today. And hopefully we can have more talks like these and learn more from all of you. So thank you for all of your work. So, and I will stay on.
I just wanted to thank you, Kids Forward organization, for putting this together. Thank you, Kate, Dahi, and others. And thank you, our state Senate and Janine, LaTonya. Thank you.
Well, and I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to Kate, who's been our Public Humanities Fellow through the UW at Kids Forward for this past year and this wonderful project. And look for more, because all of the providers on here have participated in interviews with Kate that will be turned into a podcast that is coming up. So lots of more. This is just, there's lots to come. So.
That's right. The blog that I wrote is just now published. I think you shared it in the chat.
Yep.
It's the first 3 interviews with 3 of you, and just beautiful, beautiful stories. And there will be another one coming out. And like he said, transcripts and recordings will also be on their website. So keep posted. Lots of gratitude in the chat.
Janine, did you want to say anything?
I was just writing in the chat just a thank you for,
Yeah.
and my husband just came in and has muffins for breakfast. But thank you for having me. It was great to hear this really important information. And so just thank you. I was just realizing just how wonderful it is to be able to hear, and the gift that you've given by allowing us to listen to your stories and your perspective. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.